Pahalgam, a picturesque town nestled in the Himalayas. Known for its natural beauty, it became a symbol of tragedy on that fateful day in late April 2025. Militants struck a popular tourist spot. They opened fire, taking the lives of over 24 innocent Indian tourists. One Nepali national also lost their life in the attack. The nation was in shock. The images of the aftermath, the stories of loss and grief filled our television screens and newspapers. The media, as it often does in the wake of such tragedies, became the primary source of information. It should have been a time for sensitive reporting, for honoring the victims and for urging peace. Instead, what followed was a masterclass in sensationalism and warmongering. It's a tale as old as time. Tragedy strikes, emotions run high, and the media, instead of being a calming presence, throws fuel on the fire. This is exactly what happened after Pahalgam. News channels transformed into 24/7 war rooms. Jingoism filled the airwaves. The narrative was clear. Pakistan was to blame. Now look, I'm not here to play judge and jury on international dispute, but the speed at which Pakistan was declared guilty without a shred of evidence was alarming. It felt less like journalism and more like a witch hunt. Remember those grainy videos of fighter jets soaring through the sky, raining down fire on enemy targets? The ones that were shared widely as evidence of India's retaliation against Pakistan. Yeah, turns out those were from a video game, not even a new one, mind you, but a popular military simulation game that's been around for years. Look, we've all been there. You're scrolling through your feed, you see a crazy video, and for a split second you think, no way, this is real. But then you see a news channel logo on it and you think, well, they wouldn't show it if it wasn't true, right? Wrong. News channels, in their haste to be the first, the loudest, the most attention-grabbing, threw journalistic ethics out the window. They aired these clips, fully knowing, or at least they should have known, that they were fake. And it wasn't just one channel, mind you, it was a widespread epidemic of misinformation. If fake war footage wasn't bad enough, let's talk about the rumors. Whispers of a radiation leak in Pakistan following the Indian airstrikes began circulating like wildfire. These whispers, amplified by social media, quickly morphed into full-blown pronouncements of a nuclear disaster. People were terrified. The possibility of a nuclear fallout, however remote, is enough to send chills down anyone's spine. But here's the thing, none of it was true. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, the global watchdog for all things nuclear, came out and categorically denied these claims. They stated unequivocally that there was no evidence of any radiation leak in Pakistan, but did that stop the rumor mill? Of course not. Even after the IAEA's clarification, some news channels continued to peddle these baseless claims, often citing sources within the government or the intelligence community. It was a classic case of fear-mongering, of prioritizing sensationalism over truth. You know things are bad when the public starts calling out the media's BS, and that's exactly what happened. People were angry, they were frustrated, they felt cheated, they'd been bombarded with misinformation, with jingoistic rhetoric, with fear-mongering, and they'd had enough. Social media, for all its flaws, became an outlet for this anger. People took to Twitter, Facebook and Instagram to express their displeasure, to call out the hypocrisy of the news channels and to demand accountability. The hashtag #GaudiMedia, a derogatory term used to describe media outlets perceived to be subservient to the government, began trending nationwide. The Pahalgam attack and its aftermath exposed a deep-rooted crisis of trust between the Indian public and its media. It showed that a significant portion of the population no longer viewed the media as a credible source of information. And frankly, who can blame them? Section 5 Responsible Reporting. A beacon in troubled times. Look, I get it. We live in a world of 24/7 news cycles where everyone's trying to break the story first. But there's a difference between being first and being accurate. There's a difference between reporting the news and manufacturing it, and that's where responsible journalism comes in. Responsible journalism is not about taking sides. It's not about pushing an agenda. It's about reporting the facts even when they're uncomfortable. It's about giving all sides a chance to be heard. It's about holding those in power accountable, no matter how difficult it may be. In times of conflict, the role of responsible journalism becomes even more critical. It can be the difference between peace and war, between understanding and hatred, between truth and propaganda. It's about reminding people that there's more that unites us than divides us. Section 6. A world watching international reactions to India's media circus. Word travels fast in the age of the internet, and so it wasn't long before the international community caught wind of the media circus unfolding in India. News organizations around the world, from the New York Times to Deutsche Welle, published articles and op-eds criticizing the Indian media's coverage of the Pahalgam attack and its aftermath. They called out the sensationalism, the misinformation, and the jingoism. They highlighted the dangers of such irresponsible reporting, especially in a region as volatile as South Asia. The international response to the Indian media's coverage was not just limited to criticism. Many international organizations, including the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, and Reporters Without Borders, RSF, expressed concern over the shrinking space for press freedom in India. They criticized the government's attempts to control the narrative and called for the protection of journalists. Section 7. Fighting back, fact-checkers and the battle for truth. It wasn't all doom and gloom, though. Amidst the chaos and misinformation, a glimmer of hope emerged. Fact-checkers, those unsung heroes of the digital age, stepped up to the plate. Armed with nothing but their wits, their internet connections, and an unwavering commitment to the truth, they took on the daunting task of debunking the mountain of fake news that was being circulated. Mohammed Zubair, the co-founder of the Indian fact-checking website Alt News, became a household name. He and his team worked tirelessly, exposing false claims, debunking fake videos, and calling out misinformation. Their work was crucial in countering the narrative being spun by some sections of the media. They showed that even in the age of deepfakes and social media manipulation, truth can prevail. Section 8. The price of dissent. Crackdown on journalists and critics. But the fight for truth came at a cost. The Indian government, in its attempt to control the narrative, cracked down on dissenting voices. They blocked over a dozen Pakistani YouTube channels and 8,000 X, formerly Twitter accounts, including those of prominent Pakistani figures and news outlets. Access to several international news websites was restricted. Journalists who dared to question the official narrative were targeted. Hilal Mir, a respected Kashmiri journalist, was arrested for his critical reporting on the situation in Kashmir. Rejaz M. Sheba Siddiq, a journalist known for her work on human rights, was arrested for her social media posts that were critical of the government's handling of the situation. Even social media influencers were not spared. Several influencers who had voiced their dissent were slapped with legal cases. A clear attempt to silence any form of criticism. The message was clear. Toe the line or face the consequences. The crackdown on dissent, the muzzling of the press, and the shrinking space for free speech painted a bleak picture of the state of democracy in India. Section 9 Epilogue. A fragile peace, an uncertain future. The US, in a rare show of diplomatic urgency, intervened to broker a truce between India and Pakistan. The guns fell silent for now, but the scars of the conflict remain. The misinformation, the jingoism, and the fear-mongering have left their mark. The Pahalgam attack and its aftermath served as a wake-up call. It exposed the ugly underbelly of the Indian media, the dangers of unchecked nationalism, and the fragility of peace in the region. As we move forward, it is crucial to remember the lessons learned. We must demand better from our media. We must hold those in power accountable. And most importantly, we must never stop questioning, never stop seeking the truth. The future of our democracy depends on it.